Good morning, everyone. We will be starting the first info session on the Mediterranean capitals of culture and dialogue. The first one is taking place today, and as you can see behind me, the next one will be at the same time next week. The idea behind this info session, both of them, is to give you background information about this new initiative that we launched this year. And allow a first ever exchange with the public for all the questions you have, all the doubts. And this morning, as you can see, I am with my colleague, Alessandro La Monica from the Annalyn Foundation, and myself, I am Rim Filali from the Union for the Mediterranean Secretariat. And we are both coordinating on behalf of the two organizations, this beautiful new initiative. So we have a couple of slides prepared for you all to present to you the idea behind the Mediterranean Capitals of Culture and Dialogue, how it was born, what we aim to do with it, and then this first application call that is open for the cities to become the Mediterranean Capitals of Culture and Dialogue in 2025, and how to apply, all the awarding criteria, etc., the deadlines, the most important information, and then we will give you space at the end to ask all your questions and doubts. So I will kick off the presentation. The Mediterranean capitals of culture and dialogue were born out of a will to north and south rims of the Mediterranean. As you might know, if you're interested about Mediterranean relations and international affairs, the Union for the Mediterranean and the Annalyn Foundation are both bound to what we call the Barcelona process, which is a process that wants to create more mutual understanding, more trust and cooperation between the northern, eastern, and southern rims of our Mare Nostrum. So the idea was, through culture, through our common identity, to connect better the shores. And so the idea is to designate two cities each year, one from the north and one from the south, to be both capitals of culture and dialogue in the Mediterranean. And the idea for them is to implement a program, a very varied program around cultural, socioeconomic, educational, and sporting events. The programs must include all the populations from all the rounds to be as inclusive as possible, as festive as possible, to celebrate our Mediterranean region, but also at the same time to raise interest about the challenges we meet and we face together, and the solutions that exist in the region. And when we can exchange from all regions the different solutions that we create, the innovations that exist, and be stronger together. The clarification that we want to make, and this is one of the questions we receive very often about this program, is that the cities have to bear the cost of their programs, but of course it is open for them to receive financial support from other entities, from institutions, from grants they can apply to, for example, from their ministries of culture, national ministries of culture, from international programs, but also from the Union for the Mediterranean and the Annalyn Foundation. We will also support those programs with our own events to be organized in those cities during those years. So there is support, but the general costs of the programs are to be borne by the cities. And this is a replication of the same functioning of the European capitals of culture or initiatives such as the Arab capitals of culture or the Islamic capitals of culture. They all function the same with the cities that bear the costs. And for all those programmings, it functions very well. So we replicated the successful programming of those already existing initiatives. Then, what are our objectives? Why did we create this new initiative, and why it was needed in the Euro-Mediterranean region? Well, the first main objective is to enhance the richness and diversity of the Euro-Mediterranean region. We all know, us lovers of the Mediterranean, that our region has a very long history, shared history between the different shores, but also today it's still a rich and diverse region in terms of cultures, of religions, of backgrounds. And so what we want is to enhance this richness and diversity and celebrate it. Then the second goal is to enhance the Euro-Mediterranean identity of the cities while we promote their historical and cultural heritage. We know that a lot of countries, our citizens feel Mediterranean, and what we want to do with these programs, while celebrating the Mediterranean in a city for a year, through programs, through exhibitions, through concerts, through seminars, workshops, etc., is to call upon that sense of belonging to the Mediterranean in the citizens of that city, and make them feel closer to this region, and to the other city that is also capital during that year, and that is going to be celebrating the same program on the other side. This you might not know, but the Union for the Mediterranean and the Anna Lane Foundation are intergovernmental institutions, and they're composed of 43 member states. So not only countries that are on the shores of the Mediterranean, but all the countries of the EU and 16 countries from the south and the eastern shores of the Mediterranean. So Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue can also not be located on the shores of the Mediterranean. And here the idea of enhancing the Mediterranean identity of someone that lives in Germany or someone that lives in Sweden is as important as someone that lives in southern Italy on the shores of the sea. So this is why it's that important to be promoting the idea of Mediterranean, of belonging to the geographical space everywhere. Then the third objective of the initiative is to stimulate local action, citizen engagement, and empowering civil society communities. As my colleague Alessandro will present later, one of the most important parameter or a criteria to be Mediterranean Capital of Culture, to be designated with this label, is to ensure that the civil societies and the citizenship movements of the city are totally engaged and involved in the construction and implementation of the program of the capitals. And by that, we want these festivities, these celebrations, not to be only institutional, but also totally empowered by the citizens and by the local communities, to be their own program, and to have total ownership from the citizens of those cities. The fourth objective is to develop network of territorial cooperation in the Mediterranean. And this is why we have two capitals, to be promoting territorial cooperation between a region and another, a city and another, during 1 year. And finally, we want as well to provide the public platform to address, as I was saying before, the challenges that we face commonly in the Mediterranean at regional level. Me being from Morocco and someone being from Italy, living in Spain, or in Lebanon or in Israel, we face similar challenges throughout this region, be they high levels of employment, unemployment, climate change, as we saw this summer, difficulties with floods and fires, etc. And all of these challenges have regional solutions, and what we want is to give platforms to discuss these challenges and how we can face them together as a region. Next, how is this initiative shaped and how does it work? Well, it is, as I was saying, coordinated both by the Union for the Mediterranean and the Annalyn Foundation. There are sister organizations working both to implement the Euro-Mediterranean Partnership. And the supreme governance of this initiative is done by what we call the Union for the Mediterranean senior officials, which are the 43 representatives of our member states at the level of their ministries of foreign affairs. So the Union for the Mediterranean Secretariat and the Annalyn Foundation, in coordination with ARLEM, which is the third body called Euro-Mediterranean Regional and Local Assembly, which represents the cities of this region. We work together to launch the initiative, prepare the call, organize such info sessions, all the coordination. And then we do as well a preliminary assessment of the candidatures at technical level, and this Alessandro will present to you later. And then the political decision and all the leadership is done by directly the member states of the Union for the Mediterranean. Who can apply? For whom this initiative is destined? Well, the leading applicant, and this is one of the main questions we have received the past month since the call has been open, the leading applicant must be a local or regional authority. Even though it is very important, as I was saying, that civil society is involved and is totally engaged in the process of preparing the application and implementing as well the program, the leading applicant must be the city itself. So either the regional representation or the city itself, the city hall. And this is important because we need institutional support and backup for the program to happen. We need the city to be fully involved and able to carry on all the burden of organizing such program and receiving such label. And then, of course, it needs to prepare this coalition of citizens and local movements to participate in the program, but they must sign the application form, as we will present to you afterwards. So if you are a very strong local entity, very active in your city, and really want your city to apply for this label, you must do some lobbying at the level of your city for your city hall, for your municipality to apply for the title. And then as I was commenting before, all cities located in every Union for the Mediterranean member states, so the 43, and you can find the list on our website. We will share with you the links at the end of the presentation, can apply regardless of their size and regardless if they're on the coast or inland. So when we think Mediterranean capital of culture and dialogue, it's not necessarily a city that has the sea touching it. It can be as well inland. The most important is to showcase your Euro-Mediterranean identity and your Euro-Mediterranean vision. And the program is only open to cities that didn't receive the label before. So for this year, for this first edition, for 2025, it is open for all the cities because it's the first one. But then once the city receives the label, it cannot apply again. And I will leave the floor after this to my colleague Alessandro to give you the details of all the awarding criteria. There are 8 awarding criteria, and each one has a specific score, and this is how we will assess the cities and how we will evaluate the different applications we receive with different scores applied. And now I leave the floor to my colleague Alessandro to present to you all these awarding criteria with their corresponding scores.
Thank you. Thank you, Rim. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. Rim, can I ask you to handle the slides? Great, thanks. So now we'll see a little bit more in detail the technicalities of the awarding criteria. All the documents that we have been mentioning, by the way, in this presentation, so the annexes that we were referring to in the previous slides are available on the website, and I will recapitulate about them later on. So as Rim said, we have 8 awarding criteria. As you can see, we can start from the criterion concerning the program, which is one of the most relevant. As you will see in each of the slides, there is a table. The table reports the breakdown of the different awarding criteria. For each sub-criteria, there is a score, and the sum of the scores gives the amount of points that is assigned to that specific criterion. So in the case of the program, we will assign 20 points. These 20 points are equally spread over 5 different criteria. As you can see, what we would like from you is a program that is articulated with a clear artistic vision and strategy. So the strategic approach that you would like to approach is extremely relevant. For the program has to be 1 year long, and has to involve a number of stakeholders on a number of dimensions. So the way you develop your approach in terms of strategy is particularly relevant. Following the strategic approach, the structure is set for the program, so that the program needs to be coherent and consistent. This consistency should be highlighted through a breakdown of the programming. Of course, we are not expecting you to have right now a detailed schedule or agenda for the different activities, but at least to report in the application form what are the main formats, the main dimensions, and the main stakeholders that you would like to involve in the program if you were to be awarded the title of Mediterranean Capitals of Culture. What is relevant also when you detail the program structure and the vision and strategy of the program itself is mentioning how you would like to involve and support the cultural and creative sectors. As you can see, we provide here a definition of these sectors that is quite wide. So the cultural and creative sector is basically any sector that relates to culture, ranging on a spectrum that goes from literature to cinema, going through performing arts, visual arts, and any other kind of activity or field of expertise or professional activity that is related to culture and creativity, including, for example, architecture, if we think of tangible cultural heritage. There are points, as you can see, that will be allocated when it comes to the introduction of digital tools and creative methodologies. This is in line with the priorities of both the Annaline Foundation and the Union for the Mediterranean, and the agenda that we have as a Euro-Mediterranean region in terms of digital transformation. So as you well know, we need to take into consideration the innovation and the strategic relevance of working with digital tools, and use these digital tools and services, including, for example, technologies such as artificial intelligence, to elaborate our creative methodologies. And last but not least, when it comes to the strategy, specific attention should be given to the promotion of tangible and intangible cultural heritage. If we think about some of the sectors, the cultural and creative sectors that deal with cultural heritage, of course, it can be both. It can be either one or the other, depending, of course, of your history, of the nature of your environments, the nature of the actors that you would like to involve. It can be tangible cultural heritage in some contexts. It can be more intangible in others. As you can see, if you combine the dimension of the cultural and creative sectors and the one of the tangible and intangible cultural heritage, this gives you a wide spectrum of potential activities that you can include in your program, as it is, by the way, I think well highlighted in the documentation that you find on the website. So feel free to innovate, feel free to bring in different actors with different expertise, coming from different parts of the city, from different social strata, and working on different aspects of cultural heritage and the cultural and creative sector. So this is really wide in order to bring in all the actors that could be concerned and interested. So that's all about the program. The Euro-Mediterranean dimension, Reem already covered it quite extensively, but as you can see, this is also a relevant criterion because it's 25 points out of 100. The reason why is that relevant, I think it's self-evident because of the nature of the award itself. So this is an award for the Mediterranean capitals of culture and dialogue. Culture, we covered it quite extensively. Dialogue is also a key word in the awarding of the prize itself, and dialogue is at regional level. So dialogue in terms of how the programming that you will propose is able to interact in between local objectives and the Euro-Mediterranean vision, and how it is able to project the beneficiaries of the programming into this Euro-Mediterranean dimension. So when you think of the programming, when you think of the cultural and creative sector that you would like to be involved, or the tangible and intangible cultural heritage that you would like to promote and have a reflection on, we also invite you to think of ways in which the beneficiaries of such programs and initiatives can understand intercultural dialogue values, such as, for example, the appreciation for cultural diversity, mutual understanding, trust, and the concept of regional integration. This can work at local level, so to bring to your cities this Euro-Mediterranean dimension, but also to bring your cities into the Euro-Mediterranean dimension. And here we do have some space for the promotion of international partnerships. So you're more than welcome to try and bring to your cities international partners that would like to be involved in the celebration of culture and dialogue in your countries and in your cities. The combination of these three factors, so the way that you can meet this necessity that we all have to bring together local objectives and Euro-Mediterranean dimensions, and the way you will bring it to your beneficiaries, and the way you will be able to attract attention from the Euro-Mediterranean region to your own cities will be cherished and highly considered into the assessment of your applications. This is related to the Euro-Mediterranean dimension. As you know, the title of Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue is assigned every edition to two cities, one from the north and one from the south of the Mediterranean. This means that it has your proposal to consider the modalities in which you would potentially engage with a counterpart city. What does this mean? Well, each applicant, so each city, has to submit its own proposal. So your proposals are standalone proposals. You are not required to create a consortium with another city. You are not required to establish a twin program. You're not required to write an application together. So each city is an applicant and is considered as such. But you are warmly invited to consider ways in which, if the title is awarded to your city, you could engage with the counterpart city. There will be two cities. So if you win the title, you will be asked to try and cooperate as much as possible with the other city. So we would like you to explain to us the ways in which you envisage this cooperation. Of course, you are very much encouraged, and it will be highly considered, to try and test the waters with other cities in the Euro-Mediterranean region and see if there's an interest to try and coordinate your programming and, of course, reciprocally strengthen your applications. This is encouraged, but it's not mandatory. A relevant element regarding the cooperation between the two capitals is that even though you can have these preliminary talks with another city, if you are awarded the title, but they are not awarded, you will continue, they will not, and another city will be considered as second, and the other way around. Thank you, Rim. Civil society engagement, again, Rim extensively covered this dimension. This is extremely relevant because, of course, everything that we do it with a participatory and inclusive approach that is at the basis of our daily work for the Union for the Mediterranean and also for the Anna Lindh Foundation, which is established on national networks of civil society organizations. So the engagement of civil society, doesn't matter where the city is located, is paramount, is extremely relevant. And that's why we will assign 15 points to this dimension. How are you kindly asked to demonstrate, to show that this civil society engagement is taking place? Well, in the application form, you will have to explain to us how you plan to involve non-governmental and civil society actors. And this, not only in the implementation of the program, but also and especially in the design of the program itself. So in each and every step of the application proposal, and if you are selected, in the implementation of the program. So civil society engagement on the side of the design and implementation of the program, but also on the side of the beneficiaries. And in terms of of people benefiting from the programming, inclusion and accessibility to increase participation is relevant. So when you describe your programming in the application form, you should also, if possible, envisage modalities to involve vulnerable communities, such as the young people, the elderly, and women. Last but not least, talking about civil society, education is a key dimension of it. So you're warmly invited also to tell us something about how you would like to involve education institutions in the implementation of your program. Governance as management, again, a very relevant element for the reasons we explained earlier. This is a one-year program that is partially based on cooperation with another city in the Euro-Mediterranean region that covers several dimensions. So the way you are going to establish your governance and management the program is extremely relevant. And we need to have some information about your capacity or capability in the future to manage and govern the program itself. So we need to know that you have the full political support from public authorities. Of course, we try and make sure that this is the case with the eligibility criteria, whereby the main applicant has to be a local public authority. But we know that depending from country to country, there can be more than one public authority involved at different levels from the local to the national. So you need to make sure that all public authorities potentially concerned are involved and are fully endorsing your application. We also need information about the governance structure and management. So how you will envisage the management structure in terms, for example, of the staff that is available, the different typology of the staff members that would take care of it, the way the municipality would coordinate with the civil society organizations that are involved, the way the municipality is envisaging to coordinate with other public authorities involved, if that is the case, etc. Then the viability. So whether you have or you will have the infrastructure to be able to host the programming. We do not provide the definition of infrastructure. That depends on the kind of programming that you would like to suggest. You will have to demonstrate that there is coherence and consistency between the program that you provide, that you offer, and the infrastructures that are needed. Last but not least, monitoring and evaluation. This is an important element. It's important in terms of foresight and projection and the future of the initiative. The more we are able to monitor and evaluate the programming that you will put in place, the more we will be able to ensure quality mechanism and improve the quality of the next editions of the Mediterranean Capitals of Culture and Dialogue Initiative. So we will be directly involved as advisory committee of the prize in terms of quality mechanism implementation, and make sure that we keep track of your experiences, we extract best practices, and we share them with the future applicants and the future cities that will be entitled the award itself. Communication, visibility, and dissemination. As you all know, this is a must, although less relevant, as you can see, in terms of points or the total amount that will be awarded, but still relevant. So in the application form, you will be asked to describe how you plan to communicate and disseminate, and how this will be done in compliance with our communication and dissemination guidelines. You can get access to those guidelines and try and see how our guidelines and your practices can converge and cooperate. And of course, if selected, we will be more than happy to support you in trying and establish a full communication strategy and plan that is in line with the needs of us and our international and national stakeholders. Environmental impact. Again, this relates to the kind of programming that you want to put in place. Depending on the nature of the activities, you will have to explain how you will assess the environmental risk and the kind of mitigating measures that you will put in place. The environmental risks that can be considered, again, vary depending on the nature of the activities. So here we are providing just a hint, a general understanding of environmental impact. Then it's you're free to interpret it depending on the specificities of your territory, the specificities of your programming. Financing, as you can imagine, this is also particularly relevant. As Rim said, the cities need to bear all the costs related to the implementation of the program, at least for the first editions, at least as far as us as organizing stakeholders will be able in the future, probably even from the 2025 edition, to provide some small budget to help you implementing some activities. But still, you need to prove that you are fully independent in terms of financial capacity. How you can do that? In the application form, you will be asked to provide a track record of the annual budget for culture over the last 5 years, and specifically the operating budget and the capital budget that you foresee could be envisaged and allocated for the implementation of the program in 2025. The operating budget relates to the daily activities, so the operational costs, and for services and human resources. The capital budget is more concerns more investments, long-term investments, such as, for example, infrastructures. And of course, sorry, I didn't mention that, but it's in the slide that we will share with you. And Dream already said that you're more than welcome to try and establish public-private partnerships and include private corporate and business sectors into the financing and budgeting of the proposal. If you do so, please try and include a fundraising or partnership strategy so that we have an idea of the viability of your suggestions. So that's all for the award criteria. 8 criteria, 100 points, distributed as we have seen. There is an annex on the website, if I'm not wrong, is Annex 5, that is the scores table. In the scores table, you can see the tables that we have just seen in one document, in a whole set. The application procedure. The deadline is September 30, 12 hours CET noon, if I am not mistaken. Before applying, please take some time to read all the requirements. The requirements are on the webpage of the initiative. Here we have a link, and then we will also share it with you at the end of this info session. On the web page, you will have a general background, the general criteria, and then the relevant documentation that you can download. The documentation is made of several documents. You will find the terms of reference of the entire initiative, the call for 2025, where you will find all the relevant information that we are covering today, and then the annexes. There are annexes related to the application process and others that are background information. Annex 4 and 5 that are not listed here are background information. So there you will find the calendar and the scores table that we have just seen. Annex 1 to 3 are extremely relevant because they are part of the application process. So once you have a full picture of the requirements, you will be asked to register online. I think there is a registration button at the beginning and at the end of the web page. It should be called apply or submit your application, if I'm not wrong. By following that link here in the slide or on the web page, you will enter the registration form. You will have to enter a number of information about the leading applicant and the application itself. And then you will be required to upload these 3 annexes. All of them are extremely relevant. Annex 1 is particularly crucially relevant because it's the application form, and we will base our assessment. So the advisory committee will base the pre-assessment before sending the shortlist to the senior officials of the Union for the Mediterranean on the information that are provided in the application form. The application form is basically a list of questions. So by replying to those questions that corresponds to the criteria that we have just seen, you will provide us with the necessary information to assess your application. So please fill in the application form in a way that is as detailed as possible. There is a limit to the size of the application. It should not be more than 60 pages in A4 format, size 12 font Times New Roman. This is what we suggest, but you will find all this information in the call. So the application form, and then the declaration of honor and the legal form. The declaration of honor and the legal form are documents related to the eligibility criteria, and specifically the fact that the leading applicant has to be a public authority. So the leading applicant, by filling in the legal form and the declaration of honor, is basically telling us that they are a public authority and that they provide us with the necessary information to check it. After you do that, we will notify the successful submission procedure, and you will receive an email saying that everything went smoothly and your application will be taken into account and fully assessed. So again, please read all the requirements on the webpage, and then if you wish so, and we hope that many of you will decide to apply for this edition or the next, you register online, you upload the annexes that are extremely relevant, because if you do not upload the annexes, you will not be considered eligible according to the formal criteria, and your application will not move to the assessment step and will never get in the short list for the senior officials. So please be extremely attentive and careful in filling in the annexes and uploading them during the registration procedure. The evaluation, as we already said, there is an advisory committee that is made of representatives of the Union for the Mediterranean, the Anne Foundation, and Ireland. The advisory committee will assess the application after consideration of the formal criteria, so the eligibility check. So the leading applicant has to be a public authority. The city has to be located in one of the countries of the Union for the Mediterranean. Doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter whether on the coast or inland. If you meet all the formal criteria and you pass the eligibility check, your application will be assessed, especially the application form and the information that are provided in it. And based on this assessment and the scorings that will be assigned to your application, the advisory committee will produce a short list with ranking based on the scores, and will submit the shortlist to the UfM senior officials. So, as Reem said, the decision will be taken at political level by the representatives of the member countries of the Union for the Mediterranean. They will designate 2 cities to hold the title for 2025, and the award will be announced on the Day of the Mediterranean, if I'm not wrong, but for sure, but Reem will tell you more about that, the regional forum of the Union for the Mediterranean, and maybe there is something more that she knows. So this is the evaluation and selection process. Preparation, monitoring, and implementation. Once, hopefully, so fingers crossed, you receive the notification that your application is successful and you have been awarded the title of Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue, our secretariats will accompany you in organizing the 2025 celebration. You will have 1 year, so the whole 2024, to get prepared to then implement the program in 2025, solar year, calendar years. How we are going to support you? Well, we are creating a website. The registration procedure, if you apply for the 2025 edition, is taking place on a web page that is hosted by the Union for the Mediterranean website. But very soon, we will launch a separate independent website for the Mediterranean Capitals of Culture and Dialogue, and there you will find a more detailed and rich range of information on the initiative itself. We will also support you during the program design and organization process in 2024. In this regard, we have already foreseen at least 3 meetings in 2024. So let's say kickoff, intermediate, and the meeting for the consolidation of the programming, plus ad hoc meetings during 2025, if any problem arise during the implementation of the program itself. And of course, both the Annalene Foundation and the Union for the Mediterranean will provide the support needed in terms of communication, visibility, and dissemination. So I think that's all for the technical elements, and I give the floor back to Reem.
Many thanks, Alessandro, and many thanks for all the information you shared with us. I just wanted to add a last information because I am sure that you're asking this yourself as well. As you know, this is the first edition. The call was open this year, as Alessandro was mentioning, to be Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue for 2025. So the cities have 1 calendar year to prepare their capitalship, but this is an annual initiative, as we were saying. So a call will be open in 2024 to be capitals of the Mediterranean in 2026, etc. So each year the call will be open for 6 months to be capital 2 years after. So the next call, this one closes in 2 weeks on 30 September. So this info session is mainly for those that already have the process started, that already have this in mind, and to resolve your doubts in terms of sending the application form and filling it to have your applications up and ready for the assessment. But for those that just received the information, that want to prepare their cities or lobby in theirs for this title, a new call will be open in January 2024 for 6 months for the title of Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue 2026, so the 2nd edition. And of course, during the first semester of next year, we will be also holding other info sessions for the new call. So do not worry about this one. It's an annual celebration. Well, if with this we close this first part that was mostly us giving you information, and we open the floor for any of your questions or doubts if you have. I think you have to raise your hand and ask for the floor, and we will give it to you. Let's see if we have any doubts from those connected. If not, we can take the opportunity of the few minutes we have left. Oh, we have a question. Let us see. Yes. You can unmute yourself. You have, yes. Hello.
I'm from Ashdod, Israel. I sent you an email. And
Good
now
morning.
Good morning. Nice to meet you. So I see now that you've answered me. So just to clarify, because we have the Jewish holidays now, and we really want to submit this application because we really think that Ashdod is like this is exactly for us. So I wanted to know if we can apply next year, then it's the same questions that will be that we'll have to submit, so we can already start working on it.
Well,
wait for the last minute.
No, well, for next year there will be another call open.
Yes.
It will be mostly based on this year's, but we will also would like to take advantage of the experience we had with this open call to adapt it a little bit more.
It will be the same subject, you know, dialogue and culture.
It's always on culture and dialogue. Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. That way I can begin, you know, gathering all the information and material and start writing. Just I wanted to know if this will be the same type of questions.
It will be more or less.
Yes. Okay.
It will be more or less based on this application call, but it is open every year to have maybe a thematic orientation. So I would suggest for you to start reflecting and gathering actors, etc. But wait for it will be published end of December, early January.
Wonderful.
But for 6 months, so you will have time to prepare it and make sure that it is that the responses you will prepare will be adapted to this new call.
Wonderful.
So,
okay then.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
And then thank you. Thanks a lot for your interest. And then I see that we have submitted a question in writing. Can Turkey join this project? Absolutely. Turkey is a member state of the Union for the Mediterranean and the Annan Foundation, so it meets the criteria, the eligibility criteria. So any Turkish city can join this project. Of course, you're welcome. Then I see another hand raising up. I saw a hand that was raised, but then it wasn't. So if you still want to ask your question, yes, I will open the floor for you. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning.
This is Bejri Sayar from Turkey. Just to ask or to confirm, is Turkey regarded north or south of the Mediterranean?
Here for this initiative, Turkey is considered north of the Mediterranean as the shore, because we work in terms of shores.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Is there any doubt on the idea behind the applications, the initiative, or how to fill in the applications on the floor? Okay, if not, we will take advantage to go through the website so we can show you how it is formed. Because as Alessandro was mentioning, we can show you how the website is structured and how you can find the application form, etc. So this is the website of the Mediterranean Capitals of Culture and Dialogue for now. And as Alessandro was mentioning, this will be afterwards a standalone website. We will share throughout our social media and our platforms the link of the new website. But for now, all the information is here. The info session, the recording is here. So if you want to go back to any of the information we shared this morning, you can find it here. Then you have here on top the structure, and you can go directly for the call for Mediterranean Capital of Culture and Dialogue 2025. And if you go here, you will find all the documentation Alessandro was mentioning. So the terms of reference of the initiative in general, so all the criteria and the idea behind it, and then the specific annual call. So for now, it's the call that is open for 2025, but I was saying when the other call will be open, it will be here as well. So the call for 2026. So for those that want to apply for the next edition, once the new call will be open early next year, it will be replaced here. And if you open the call, you will find all the necessary information, all the eligibility criteria, the awarding criteria, the procedure, application procedure, evaluation process, everything that was presented to you today in a summary. There you will find all the details. And then you will find the annexes of the call, with the first one that is the most important, which is the application form. And this is what you will have to fill in. So it's a Word document with questions. As you can see here, you have the instructions and the different questions and the length of the responses you are expected to submit. So this is the core of your application. And once you fill it in, so you fill in this application form, you fill in also the declaration of owner and the legal entity form, which is to be filled by the city, both of them. You click on submit your applications. Once you have the 3 annexes ready, you click on submit your application, and you will find here the form. On the form, you fill in all the information. It is pretty basic and quite clear. So all the information that are requested, for example, here the eligibility criteria to respond if your city is located in a member state of the Union for the Mediterranean. And here the link, as I was saying, to the full list of member states to know if your city is eligible or not. And then once you fill in everything, you will find at the end the place to submit the 3 documents you were supposed to fill in and submit, and we will receive your application. And in maximum 5 days after you submitted, we have to answer to you by telling you that we received it, or if it was if it's complete or not, or if you have to complete it, etc. So this was all the background information we wanted to share with you today. We'll let you know that there is another info session next week. So if you have any further doubts, do not hesitate to connect again. And I'll let the final words to my colleague Alessandro.
Sorry, thank you, Reem. I saw that Shira in the QA section was asking if we can provide an example for a project. And this reminded me that it might be useful to reiterate, and this is also in the call and in the terms of reference, and it's important for the viability of the project, that you are not required to create an entirely new program. So the idea of the award itself, as it is in the case of the European Capital of Culture, is to maximize and capitalize on programming that has already been foreseen, for example, for 2025. So as much as possible, if you want, you can try and federate initiatives that you know will take place in 2025, organized either by the municipality, the local authorities, the regional authorities, the national authorities in the city, non-governmental organization, civil society organizations, schools, artists, architectural firm. So all the actors that you want to involve in designing and implementing the program in 2025, and this is part of the work that we kindly ask you to do, should contribute by saying what is the strategy and what are their plans and programs for 2025. To try and federate as much as possible these programs, these events, these initiatives. So an example of a project, for example, if an art gallery is planning to organize something in 2025 in your city, and this, of course, is eligible in terms of the spirit of the call. So as we have seen, culture and dialogue, the values of intercultural dialogue, the Euro-Mediterranean vision, the involvement of vulnerable communities, the cultural and creative sectors at large, the protection and promotion or restoration of tangible and intangible cultural heritage, you're more than welcome to include it in the program. And this, I think, is good news when it comes to the fact that the city has to bear all the costs, because we are not asking you to create a new program. We are asking you to capitalize on things that you are already planning to do as much as possible. Then, of course, if you're able to collect, to have budget and funding from different actors, including private actors, to create and organize new activities and new events, maybe, for example, with the counterpart city, when you will be awarded the title, you're more than welcome to do that. But in general, any kind of project, events, initiative, either lasting a couple of days or 6 months in 2025, organized by the stakeholders involved, is eligible to be included in the program. All we have said and much more is in the documentation that is available on the website. I think Rim has been extremely clear in describing the content on the website and the procedure itself. We are available, and as she said, the registration is available on the webpage, the registration of this info session. You see here our email address, and you are more than welcome to submit any queries for clarification that you might have. And I think that what we can say is that we hope you will apply, or we hope you will convince your stakeholders to apply and then organize your application together. We are hoping to support you in this process, and we are looking forward to receiving your applications either by September 30 at noon or for the next edition. Reem, the floor is yours if you want to add anything. I thank you all the participants, and please spread the word about the next info session if you have friends or stakeholders that might be interested, again at 11 a.m. CT on September 20.
Perfect. Nothing to add. Thanks a lot, Alessandro, and thanks all for being here this morning with us and for your interest in this beautiful project. Thank you and have a very good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.